A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serene, and I represent Marken, a UPS company. We specialize in cold chain logistics for the healthcare, life science, and clinical trials industry. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be sharing with you the key trends that's happening within clinical trials and logistics, and more importantly, how COVID-19 has accelerated the speed of change and adoption in the world of clinical research. A significant paradigm shift is happening as more and more clinical research organizations and pharmaceutical companies are considering alternative ways of conducting clinical trials ranging from siteless, virtual, and digital trials. Is the clicker working? It's not working. Okay. Thank you. So before the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world in 2020, a visit to the doctor almost always involved waiting rooms and seeing a physician in person. But ever since movement restrictions were put in place to stop the spread of the pandemic, digital health services have become commonplace and even expected by patients, resulting in the rise of telehealth and decentralized trials, where materials need to be shipped directly to the patient's homes in order to conduct the studies. Another big trend that's happening in our industry today is a direction towards personalized medicine, which holds great promise for transforming the treatment for many diseases. In particular, cell and gene therapy is gaining traction and momentum in many parts of the world, and with it comes the complication of ensuring a robust supply chain network is available to deliver these sensitive materials to every single patient who needs it. A third big trend that is happening is the use of blockchain, AI, and the Metaverse within clinical trials and logistics that will completely change the way in which we interact with others. A lot has been talked about in the last couple of days on this topic, and I'll explore a bit more about it within the clinical trial logistics space. To enable the success of all these trends, technology would play a very big role, and there's no running away from it, whether you like it or not. So it's not a matter of will it happen or if it will happen, but when it would happen, and when it will become mainstream for all of us. First, let's start off with telehealth. According to the data collected by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention through 4 of the largest telehealth providers in the US, there was a 154% increase in telehealth visits in March 2020 compared to the same period a year ago. Since the early days of the pandemic, the figures took a slip last year, but telehealth usage in February 2021 still remained 38 times higher than what it was the year before. At a consumer provider level, there's also been a shift in patient and doctor acceptance of telehealth consultations. A report by management consulting firm McKinsey & Company revealed that since the start of the pandemic, 57% of healthcare providers have viewed telehealth more favorably since the pandemic compared to pre-pandemic. They also found that 76% of consumers are now interested in using telehealth. This is compared to only 11% engaging in such services in 2019. Seeing that this figure has stabilized for several months, it suggests that the increased use of technology in healthcare is definitely likely to stay. And we're not just talking about telehealth. Digital health encompasses a range of technologies ranging from mobile health apps, electronic health records, and even artificial intelligence for more personalized treatment. Seeing how broad the scope of opportunities is in this particular landscape, it's no wonder that investments in digital health companies has doubled in 2020 compared to the year before. And some have even estimated that about $250 billion of US healthcare spending could eventually move to virtual forms of care. Today, we are seeing a global phenomenon as countries all over the world, from US, Europe, Middle East, and Asia, are also seeing a similar transition to the increased use of technology in patient care. This as well has resulted in a big shift in clinical trials as pharma sponsors continue to seek ways to make clinical trials faster and to improve the experience for patients and physicians. As health system resources become consumed by COVID-19 related care and travel becomes limited by physical distancing, patients' access to trial sites was reduced by 80%. In the face of such disruption, sponsors mobilized rapidly to preserve the continuity of care and data integrity. For example, by adopting remote consent and patient monitoring, video conference assessment, and at-home phlebotomy. The shift of clinical trials activities closer to patients have been enabled by a constellation of evolving technologies and service. Tools such as electronic consent, telehealth care, remote patient monitoring, and electronic clinical outcome assessments allow investigators to maintain links to trial participants without any inpatient visits. Mobile and home health care, as well as alternative care locations, enable more procedures to occur away from the clinical research sites. These diverse options allow for a broad spectrum of decentralized and hybrid clinical trial designs. In a most complete articulation, a trial can be fully virtual, with enrollment and assessment taking place in a patient's home, enabled by end-to-end digital tools and self-administration of medications. That fully virtual model is gradually migrating from smaller early phase studies to post-approval studies and also larger pivotal studies. Today, it's very clear that a record number of at least 1,300 trials are expected to utilize decentralized elements in 2022, and they are definitely here to stay beyond the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has catalyzed adoption of decentralized clinical trials while highlighting the critical benefits of virtual trials to improve the patient and physician experience. More importantly to us in clinical logistics, to enable the successful implementation of decentralized trials and telehealth sessions, a complete end-to-end clinical trial supply chain logistics supply is critical to ensure the smooth delivery of such a model. Here's a visual of how a supply chain could look like. This would mean a supply chain crafted to meet the specific patient-centric needs where medications, clinical trial kits, and ancillary supplies, such as wearables, can be stored and distributed from a central or regional depot directly to a patient's home, where a home healthcare nurse could support the trial in a home setting, to administer the product and to conduct the necessary activities of a clinical trial at a patient's home. This could include the conduct of the telehealth visit, collection of a blood sample or data capture for vital stats, etc., before these samples are returned to the site or central labs for assessment. Or the used or the unused investigator product can then be returned to the depot for reconciliation and destruction. Such a model would require proper planning of your supply chain needs as you determine where your patients, the sites, the central lab facilities, and the depots would be around the world. Moving on to the next trend of personalized medicine and how it would affect supply chain logistics. The access to vast patient-specific information that we have today will provide in-depth knowledge of a patient's history, allowing customized modifications to treatments based on predictive models. Precision medicines, or treatment that's personalized for a patient based on their genetic or their molecular profile, has already steadily grown in popularity in many of the medical communities around the world. The fact is, clinical trials for precision medicines often have trouble recruiting enough participation. Primary care physicians also struggle with gaining quick, easy access to patients' genetic data and to listings of which trials their patients are eligible for. Decentralized trials can help address both of these challenges. Tech-enabled trials also allow the investigators to search for eligible patients over a larger geographical area. Investigators can then use this technology to share genetic data and information about precision treatments securely. The challenge here is how to create a supply chain to scale up, to commercialize, and to standardize it when personalized medicine is so unique to every patient. The final product is always a very unique preparation, hence the term personalized medicine. It is simply not an option to deliver to the wrong patient. Another challenge is you cannot obtain economies of scale for the logistics. It's usually one shipment per patient and there's no consolidation. A lot of the flows have really tight timelines, sometimes within 24 hours, and they have to be transported across continents. In some cases, the only option is to transport the shipments via hand carry. Shipping globally can also become an issue because custom officers are sometimes not very familiar with personalized medicines, and that adds extra time. From a manufacturing perspective, it is also one batch per patient and one clean room per patient. You can only manufacture for one patient at a time, and manufacturing lead times are often also fixed. Thus, they cannot be shortened. This is a very labor-intensive in terms of resources and capacity, so you need also very extremely trained and specialized personnel to do such a role. So, with so much at stake for the growing cell and gene therapy industry, the acceleration of technology solutions and conditioned research capacities throughout the value chain will be very much essential. The most complex aspects of running cell and gene trials will continue to be the logistical as well as the scheduling requirements. Now, let's take a look at how the supply chain for cell and gene therapy needs to be managed in order to successfully bring personalized medicine to the market. Can I have the video, please?
Site. Markin delivers apheresis. These are transforming the fight against cancer and genetic disorders. These therapies require special regulatory attention, strict chain of identity, and highly secure supply chains from start to finish. Two of the most common types of therapies are autologous and allogenei. With autologous therapies, a patient visits a clinical site to have their blood and biological material collected. To prepare the site, Markin delivers apheresis collection kits. Through apheresis, the patient's blood is then separated to obtain individual components. Markin ships the time and temperature-sensitive biological materials to manufacturing sites. Our teams also assist with the delivery of viral vectors to the site. The sites then engineer and modify the cells, augmenting and adapting them for the patient's specific needs. The modified cells are then transferred to the patient, with Markin ensuring the right therapy is always returned to the right patient. Where allogeneic differs is modified cells from a healthy donor may be first stored in a trusted temperature-controlled facility, such as Markin's global GMP network. At any point when needed, Markin can deliver the critical therapy to patients. While both types of therapies have similar elements, allogeneic therapies are developed at a larger scale to treat multiple patients. Overall, ensuring chain of identity and visibility of shipments from patient to manufacturing site to point of care is critical. Our range of qualified thermo-regulated packaging solutions, including cryoshippers, protect clinical materials whether in transit or in storage. We offer one of the largest global networks of liquid nitrogen service stations in the industry to support these therapies. We understand that these irreplaceable therapies require highly specialized supply chain services to ensure safe transfer to the patient. That's why we're the market leader. Is your supply chain ready for the future of healthcare?
So indeed, the future of healthcare is already here with decentralized trials and cell and gene therapy. Another big trend that will hit us is the Metaverse, which will be an extension of the virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality technologies that we'll use today to provide a more immersive, real experience. Many speakers have shared in track 1 over the last 2 days how this is becoming a reality. Imagine Metaverse as a parallel digital universe where your digital avatar can inhabit the Metaverse. Instead of watching or reading about something over the internet, you can actually experience it. You can interact with other people, go shopping, go to work, go to events, or in my case here, be part of a clinical trial within the Metaverse. As per Mark Zuckerberg, the Metaverse would be a second best thing to teleportation. Teleporting around the Metaverse would be like clicking a link on your phone. And while the idea of a doctor performing virtual surgery on a patient might sound far-fetched at the moment, it might become a reality sooner than we think. Surgeons at Johns Hopkins Hospital are already using AR headsets to project images of patients' internal anatomy based on the CT scans to guide surgeries. In Taiwan, the Microsoft HoloLens, also known as like a mixed reality headset, is bringing a new dimension to telehealth consultations. Nurses or GPs on house calls can effectively collaborate with a specialist that couldn't be present with a patient. They use the HoloLens, which shows exactly what the attending physician or clinician is seeing to the specialist. The possible applications of these technologies are actually literally endless. This includes enhanced medical training, like using VR to visualize surgical procedures, to facilitating the design of operating theaters with virtual interactive displays. One obvious use of Metaverse could be for telemedicine, which is one of the widely used technologies in decentralized trials. Multiple survey results show that many clinical trial participants still prefer face-to-face visit over a teleconsultation. In the world of Metaverse, the participant's digital avatar will meet the doctor in a 3D clinic or any other place of their choice, just like it happens during a traditional face-to-face appointment. And I'm not talking about like a 3D holo projection, which is already available today, but actually of a digital twin of a participant, an identical copy made of health data from different sources, like the patient's electronic medical records and wearable devices measuring your physical parameters in real time. So this will not only mimic a real physical experience, the doctor can also evaluate the patient's health status quickly by assessing different digital health data. This is expected to give a much better patient experience because you're removing all the key limitations to telehealth modalities currently. It is a big game, and Metaverse, the Meta's Metaverse, or that's also known as the Oculus Horizon, is not the only one. Microsoft's Mesh, NVIDIA's Omniverse, Google, Apple, Disney, they are all these different big tech companies today that are already building their virtual worlds. For the uninitiated in the audience today, and even for me when I was preparing this material, let's look at how Microsoft's Mesh is expected to play out in reality through this next video.
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
So this net.
Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
That I think we should.
Deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前。
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Let's take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time.
I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have two planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
I think if we had 330, maintaining 2800,
We'll be clear for approach.
Excellent.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring the
A
arm
world
down.
where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
So this is just an example of Microsoft, and I'm sure there are many other technology companies that is working into this space already. You can see how it might not be very wrong to assume that one day, virtual clinical trials will happen within the metaverse. This will not only provide a real-life-like interaction between the doctors, nurses, and patients, but also the blockchain technology will add another layer of security to the trial data, making it difficult to tamper and also improving data credibility. For patients like us, it also means that our digital avatar can carry the digital medical data and we can easily share this with physicians or different physicians around the world in the healthcare metaverse. Indeed, the metaverse is actually no longer a fancy science fiction, and rather is kind of like the next version of the internet, Web 3.0. The applications for metaverse are endless, and especially with regards to medicine and the delivery of healthcare, technology is going to play an even bigger part in our lives sooner than you think. When it comes to blockchain in clinical trials, the options are limitless. Blockchains allow us to handle diverse data sources from patients, clinicians, devices such as wearables, and other sources. It also can be used to securely integrate data from many places, in many shapes and many sizes, like X-rays, audio annotations, EMR, etc., and could also play a significant role in clinical trial integration and interoperability. Blockchain makes it easier to find and engage potential clinical trial candidates who better represent specific patient populations. For example, easing data sharing of anonymized patient data, it could also go a long way towards helping to build public trust in clinical trials by respecting patient privacy, while at the same time generating enough data from enough people globally to make real progress against numerous disease states. And finally, as clinical trials increasingly use AI, blockchain can also give us the much needed accountability and traceability for AI models and predictions. Clearly, the combination of this blockchain and healthcare will give us a potential roadmap where blockchain could move informed consent beyond just the mere technicality of signing a form. By allowing people to now own your own patient data, you can make informed consent specific to a patient's data set that can be specific for an agreed-on purpose. Patients can now specify what aspects of data they approve for use in a clinical trial, as well as how it can be used. So people like you and me will soon be able to control our own data. With all the benefits that we have just discussed, virtual reality and metaverse is expected to grow significantly in the years to come, and this would dramatically change the way that we do things today. As a result, the supply chain of tomorrow will be increasingly customer-centric, demand-driven, and more automated. I'd like to leave you with this very final video of the day, courtesy of KPMG, who tells us exactly what to expect in the future of supply chain logistics. With that, I thank you for your time and open up the floor to any questions. Thank you.